Welcome to another episode of Living Off the Grid in the City. Today is the 27th of March 2023. I would like to jump in today into the reasons why you should live off the grid. Why is it so advantageous? I'd like to also jump into the what living off the grid means. I would like to tackle that first. Living off the grid means, as I have described the grid in the last episode, quite detailed. I would like to tell you what's living off that grid actually means. Living off the grid means having next to zero, if not zero, bills for utilities. First and foremost, your electric company, which is, again, your third, if not second biggest bill for any working person, working family, individual, even commercial or industrial business. Living off the grid means having zero or next to zero water and sewage bill or payments or commitment. And living off the grid also means having very little or next to zero bills from your communications company and internet company. Again, in that order, your electric company, your water and sewage, and your communications, including your cell phone and internet. In that order, disconnection from those services is my goal here on this show, and it is what I mean by living off the grid, living off those commitments, those payments, those attachments, those dependencies that are, as I have explained, quite harmful in many ways. Of course, the service itself is not harmful, is good, is needed. It is something that allows you to do a whole lot of good in society, in your community. It is something that allows you to be free from a lot of toil, a lot of inconveniences, a lot of discomfort. For example, having electric power allows you to do a menagerie of things that are good and contributing towards society. Having communication capabilities, long distance, and capabilities to communicate with many other people, to entertain yourself, to create things with others, collaborate. That is a good, that is something that is necessary. However, the high and very high, sometimes, many times, most times actually, the high cost that these things bring you are the harmful things, or the harmful side, or the detriment, or the disadvantage that these things bring with them. And those are the ones that I am trying to set you free from, that I am trying to disconnect you from, and have you create your own and generate your own and maintain your own energy, electricity, generate your own modes of communication, generate your own sources, and manage and have your own sources of water within your control, your own sources of communication within your control, your own sources of energy within your control. You control the tap, you control the use, you control how much you use, you control when to shut it off, and you control, therefore, how much you pay for these things. That is the goal. Living off the grid again means having all of this under your control, all of these sources of energy, all of the amount of energy and water that you use and communication that you use, having control over the outlet, the spigot, the tap, having control over how open that tap is or how closed it is, having control over that valve, those valves, because you should have control over how much you use, how much you're charged. You should have control over how much you spend on those things. Therefore, a lot more control over your finances, a lot more control over your future. Ultimately, your future, your very future, your very quality of life in today's society, in today's capitalistic society, depends on your finances, and controlling your finances is critical in controlling the quality of life in your future, controlling your comfort, controlling even your very health. Depends on how your finances are controlled by you. You are the one that has the best interest in yourself, in those around you, those loved ones, family and friends around you. Not the power company, not the bank, not your city, your government, not the water company, whether it be private or public, not the cable company, not the internet service provider, not your cell phone company. Those companies are looking out for themselves. Therefore, they don't have, again, they do not have your best interest in mind. They never have, they never will, just because of how the system is set up. It is a for-profit system that will likely never ever have your best interest in mind. And again, living off the grid, it is detaching yourself from those very, very strong and far-reaching tentacles from those corporations, companies, institutions, governments, etc. Other benefits of living off the grid and not having those bills, those payments, those commitments, those financial commitments, those attachments are lowered and decreased and diminished stress levels. Of course, this has a very many amount of advantages. Again, health advantages. You will be happier, you will be more fulfilled, you will be more productive, successful in many other things when you have a lower level of stress. You will be more in control over your life, your health, your happenings when you have a lower level of stress. This is just something that is widely known. It is widely accepted by professionals, doctors, psychologists alike. You will also have more time. This is a major advantage of living off the grid. When you don't have as many payments in your life, in your career, in your day-to-day life, of course you will have less requirements for work. You will not have to work as much, and it'll be your choice whether you work more or less. When you don't have the need to produce and make as much money, then you don't have the need to work as many hours. Therefore, you could demand more from your employer, more benefits, more time off, more vacation, more pay, if you will. You may demand more comforts from your employer. If you have an employer, if you happen to have a business or be self-employed, you have more flexibility in the hours worked or not worked. You have more flexibility in the type of work you take, because you will have more power to say no to certain jobs, to certain hours, to certain contracts, to certain demands from your employer. And that is a huge advantage of living off the grid, of having less bills, of having more control over your finances. You will also have more time, therefore, for your own projects, your own goals, your own dreams. You will have more time to tackle that, construction project you wanted to tackle for many years or months or decades in some cases. You will have time all of a sudden to, create crafts and hobbies, and dedicate times to hobbies and travel or vacation or partying or whatever it is that you want to spend more time in, other than toiling at work, other than working for your boss, other than working for your corporation, other than, doing things for someone else. You may want to spend time in creation, in things that are creative, things that are dear to you, that are important to you. Spend more time with family, friends, loved ones. Spend more time doing whatever else it is that you need to or want to do, away from work, away from your day-to-day routine. If work is what you want to do, you have the flexibility to do this. You may have the flexibility to switch work, to do other work, to do work for another company, another corporation, another institution. You may be able to do that. You may be able to change careers, something that many people plan and want to do, because now you have the flexibility to do so, since you don't have as many bills. So those are the few advantages of living off the grid. You may be able to fix things, work on things. If you like working on vehicles, working on houses, working on machines, working on whatever else you fill in the blank, you may be able to do so by living off the grid. Let me remind you that living off the grid does not mean living away from modern society. You can very much live within modern society, and even more so than before, you may be able to gain skills, gain experience, gain knowledge while living off the grid, to create even more opportunities for you to be involved in modern society. You may be able to work with electricity, electronics, digital equipment such as computers, and you may be able to plan and calculate and design and build a lot more things, a lot more equipment, a lot more machines, a lot more infrastructure than you would if you would not be off the grid, when everything is basically there already, working and set for you, maintained and built and delivered by the power company, the water company, the communications company. When you have to maintain and keep up with and even build many of these systems for yourself, for your use, you become more knowledgeable. You research and find out about a lot of things. You become a lot more technical. You have to, because you now take charge of the production, the maintenance, even the building of these systems. You will be able to install and put together and wire and build, for example, solar energy systems. You will be able to produce, build, install, maintain, for example, a water heating system that is efficient, that is perhaps tankless, that is something that is just big enough for your use, for the use of those that live within your household, perhaps your family, friends. So you will become again more technical, more knowledgeable. You will become, you may become, if you would like to go that route, an electrician. You may become a plumber. You may become both. You may become somewhat of an electronics person, electronics technician. You may become a software operator, a software designer. You may become an electronics designer. You may become all of these things, a little bit of, or a lot of all of these things. You may become an expert in a few of these things. You may become an expert in all of these things. Who knows? The sky's the limit when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to experience. So that is another, or a few other, big advantages of living off the grid. You will become a more capable individual, a more technical individual, because of the need to maintain and know about all of these different parts of living off the grid, of generating energy, of harnessing energy, of using and saving energy, of using and saving energy and water and air conditioning or air heating. All of these things you're going to have to manage in a very efficient way to be able to live off the grid affordably. You have to measure, you have to learn to measure your water use, your electricity use, your energy use, your air conditioning use. You're going to have to manage the charge in your battery bank. You're going to have to measure how much energy is being used at any one point. If you would like to be as efficient as possible, of course, you don't have to do all of these things. You can just, use them and, by trial and error, find out where you need to be, where you are comfortable with, and you may be fine with that. You may be very detailed in your projects, and you may be the kind that wants to measure every amp that you use, every voltage in your battery bank, every voltage and amperage produced by your, for example, wind generator or wind power generator, wind turbine, or your solar photovoltaic array. You may want to measure all that and keep up with all that and keep track and keep a log, keep records. You may be that type, or you may be just the type that builds it, puts it together, and just uses it and finds out, what works, how many batteries put together work for what you need on an everyday basis or most day basis, and you may go from there. So living off the grid again takes a lot of technicalities, a lot of technical knowledge. You may not be there when you start, but little by little you most likely will get there. Per my experience, personal experience, I've seen myself grow from someone that knew very, very little about anything dealing with electronics, electricity, and over the years, by being involved in alternative energies, I have become very technical and very knowledgeable in both electronics, electricity, and even delving into computing and software just a little bit, because of the need to monitor, to calculate, to find out. I have delved into spreadsheets a lot. They're very helpful when calculating stuff and keeping up with stuff like Microsoft Excel and other spreadsheet software. They are very, very helpful. Now with the advent of applications, or apps as they call them, you can very quickly, if you can create an app, for example, very quickly find out what you need as far as your energy system for your specific use, your customized daily use. You can have an application monitor a certain power generation system, or monitor how much water you use on a daily basis, monitor a whole array of things if you would like. There are applications already developed by the various manufacturers of, for example, solar energy systems, such as inverters, such as charger inverters, such as chargers. They have Bluetooth enabled applications and other type of networking enabled, such as Wi-Fi or Ethernet enabled applications that you can monitor power generation, again, usage. You can monitor the charge that's currently in your system, in your battery bank, for example, and monitor the use or the power being taken out from your system at any one point. You can even see how much money you have saved, how much money you have made in some cases, and produced and sold, as they call some electric company jurisdictions do buy power from power generation stations such as solar that have been commissioned by them, that have been approved and commissioned by them at your home, and you may be able to get cash in some cases, in very few cases get cash, in most cases get credits towards your power bill, meaning that you pay less power, meaning that you may pay very little power, in some cases no power bill. You may have a zero power bill or a negative power bill in some cases, if you have a large enough system to offset your power usage more than 100%. So these are some of the other advantages that you may have. Other advantages that basically need no argument and need no introduction, that really should not need to even be mentioned, are the environmental advantages. Of course, solar and wind are cleaner than fossil fuel energies. Full stop. Point blank. Close the book. No discussion is needed for this. No argumentation is needed. No back and forth is needed with anyone. This has been established. It would take many episodes to go through the evidence, to go through the argumentation, to go through the many advantages, environmental advantages of alternative energies. I will mention though that many have argued that alternative energies are really not green or not clean, or they are also dirty. They also produce pollution. They require the need for factories for fossil fuels, and to a limited and small amounts this is correct. It's again very, very limited and very small the amount of factories ran by fossil fuels that will be needed, if any, to create, to generate, to build, to manufacture green energies. And this again is only for now, is only for the foreseeable future. Is only for a short term, actually, not the foreseeable future, but for a shorter term. The argument that you need a factory, you need factories to fossil fuel ran factories to build solar panels, and therefore it is the same as keeping, the entire world's economy running on fossil fuels. It's just ludicrous, stupid, it's just nonsensical, doesn't add up, doesn't make sense. It's just crazy. It doesn't hold up under any kind of scrutiny. Keeping the whole world running on fossil fuels because you need a very minute amount of factories running on fossil fuels to generate and build solar panels and wind turbines is just as stupid as it gets. The small amount of factories that will be required to generate batteries, to create solar panels, to create wind turbines, to build electric vehicles, to decarbonize the economy is a fraction. It is such a minute amount compared to the current amount of factories that are running on fossil fuels. It's just incomparable. It's just something that is apples and oranges. It is night and day, black and white. It just doesn't hold up. It just shouldn't be even discussed because it is just a non-argument. It is a ludicrous argument that has no kind of weight behind it. Again, the argument for the environment is just unnecessary. We know that global warming is taking place. We know that carbon dioxide is being generated by tailpipe emissions from fossil fuel ran vehicles. We know that coal burning for electric production is causing all kinds of pollution at alarming rates. We know all this. It's backed up by data, has been backed up by data for decades. So it needs no discussion.